At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. I am one of your hosts this week, Professor Chris G, and on the other line with me is my rewind buddy, and we'll explain it later. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how are you doing?
But, you know, all things considered, I'm not too bad.
I'm not either. I'm doing pretty damn well today. But I gave you the nickname Rewind. Would you like to enlighten everybody, because I'm sure you know, as to why your nickname is Rewind this week?
My nickname is Rewind this week because, and I guess we're only doing this for our own benefit because you all wouldn't really know, but we are running the same episode again. You might have noticed that, you know, nothing particularly went out. You know, last week, I suppose. And you might think, well, what happened? Well, did somebody get sick? You know, did something? Well, yes, somebody got sick, but that's not the issue.
We can still record if someone's sick.
The problem was one of us, and we don't need to point fingers, misplaced some equipment, and one of us...
As he's pointing at me.
No. Well, but if you give me a second, I was just going to throw myself right there next to you. And then one of us doesn't know how to operate buttons. And I was essentially trying out a solo podcast, which, I mean, maybe, you know, I'd like to think that our audience is intelligent and they could have filled in the gaps. You know, they could have filled in your part, but
yes,
we decided that for the benefit of our fine listeners and perhaps our own sanity,
and for people that pay for our show,
and for people that actually put in their hard-earned money,
yes,
we owed it to them to give this a proper pass, and we're redoing the episode. And that's not to mention the fact that we spent, I would say, 85% of the episode getting two names consistently crossed up.
Yes.
To the point where I think had the initial recording survived, I think we would have had to come on and put a disclaimer, because it was very frustrating. If you were listening to it and you were watching it with us,
and you're a hardcore Pokemon fan, you're like, you're getting these names wrong.
And I mean, I've listened to some, you know, audiobooks or podcast where it's either a mispronunciation, well, that's ironic, isn't it? It's either
pronouncing the name wrong.
Fuck me, I can't talk. It's either pronouncing a name wrong or getting something wrong and not, you know, correcting it. And, you know, you're sitting there screaming at your device. You're going, let's just, you know, change one syllable or don't emphasize the middle of this word. And, you know, it was bad, but that in amongst itself wouldn't have been enough reason to re-record the episode. like I said,
and the audio sounded like shit.
The audio was bad. I mean, you were probably trying to be a little louder because you didn't have headphones.
Nope. I misplaced the main part of the show to record with. I misplaced the motherfucking headphones. That was fun.
I think we knew, going into the episode, you're like, well, I'm on this laptop, but it's got, I would say, what did you say, like 45 minutes left? And you're like, I'm going to have to switch at some point. Yep. And
because I was lazy and didn't want to go up and grab my charger from upstairs.
And once we switched, it would have been fine. And if we'd have gotten the names of the Pokemon right, that's just a quick stitch job. And
we would have been able to do half of the episode. But now we're just going to get it right and do the full episode so we're not getting screamed at by you, the fans.
Right. Especially those of you that, like I said, plunked in your hard-earned money. So
yes.
Here we are. We have checked the avenues. We have all our equipment. We are good to go. We apologize for the slight delay. For
we're
everybody.
Back on schedule.
This may or may not affect our Poke Break for May. I would imagine it probably will.
I was about to say it might. It'll push it back a week or so, but
so
it's not terrible.
Well, I mean, that's these things can be adjusted. It's just so yeah. Rather than put out content that wasn't up to our quality, we decided to just sack up and do the episode again, and we won't be messing up the names of the Pokemon and then having to stop and watch the captioning and then have arguments with each other or ourselves. So, yeah.
All right.
We run an honest podcast, if nothing else.
Yes, I hope it shows. I really do. So, that being said, are you ready to get on into this week's episode?
Yes, I am. Very much so.
All right. So, today, everybody, as I'm pulling open the wiki for all of you fine listeners, today's episode is episode 1137, and it's called A Pinch of This, A Pinch of That, or translated from Japanese, Galar's Fossils, Stick 'em Together. And this premiered January 8th, 2021 in Japan, and here in the States, September 10th, 2021. So all that going through, I don't have too much else to say, so I'm going to go ahead and start this episode. And as of this recording, this episode is up for free on Pokemon.com. So go ahead and check it on the website. And we start the episode like we do every single episode, talking about Ash and Go and what they want to do in their adventures. And then we jump in and we see Chloe running up to the home, or her home, and Yamper is on the couch. Yamper is like, someone's home. Who's home? Who's home? And just jumps off the couch, just like the dog, just wagging its little electric tail. And Chloe's like, I'm home. And Yamper's like, oh, I've been a good boy. I've been a very, really, 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 really good boy. And she's like, good to see you, Yamper. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. Come on out, Eevee. And she lets Eevee out, and Eevee's like, and then Eevee and Yamper are so cute, and they just start playing with each other. And And this is where it gets funny because Chloe is like, she's like, I hope you were really good while we were gone, Yamper. And Yamper's like, oh, I was. Oh, and just gets on its back and is like, I want a belly rub. Rub my belly. And Chloe just starts rubbing Yamper on the belly. And Evie's looking on and is like, wait a minute. I want my belly rubbed. And Evie tries to get on its back, but as it gets on its back, tumbles all the way around, all the way back to its front side, and clumsily falls to the ground. And Chloe is like, oh, Evie. And then that's when her dad, the professor, comes into the picture. Doug, you want to take it from here?
And he's like, Chloe, could you come in this room for a second? If you have a minute. And she's like, oh, and then we do a wipe and we go to the inside of the room and we see that Ash and Go are already here with Pikachu and Cinderace. There. Yep, Cinderace. Yeah. So, and we see, that they're there and we see that they're looking at a screen and Ash is like, oh, perfect timing. And she walks in and we see that they're on video conference with an excavator. And, we're reminded of when they first met this fella. And he's like, oh, it's the Museum of Science director. And the professor's like, and he's got a adventure for the three of you, and goes like, we're going to investigate fossils. And Ash is like, we're going to go to the wild area. And Chloe's like, isn't that in the Galar region? And the director's like, that's right. And he's got like stars in his eyes, and he's like, we could obtain some rare fossils in the Galar region, and I'd like to have you all down to investigate properly. And Ash and Go are in immediately, and
they're like, Chloe, do you want to go?
And Chloe, she's like, well, I do have school. And Evie's like, oh, come on, a trip would be nice. I don't know. I haven't seen much of the world. I'm just a baby. And, she kind of looks and she's like, well,
she asks Evie, do you want to?
And then she kind of turns around and she's like, you know what, Dad, that sounds like a good idea. And, we cut to an airplane, and the narrator kind of fills in the gaps about how Ash, Go, and Chloe are going to be on the hunt for fossils. And we cut to the inside of the plane, and Ash is asleep with Pikachu in his lap. Ash is drooling, and Go's on his phone, and so is Chloe. And we find out that Chloe's teacher emailed and said that she could write a report about the trip and any fossils they might encounter. So
which is really nice of a teacher, by the way.
That's really nice. I mean, the alternative would have been, could I get my, a couple days of homework, and then you just got to do it on your own time. But I would say this is preferable.
Yes.
And, Go's like, that's a good deal. And, Chloe and Evie are looking out the window, and Evie's excited, and Chloe's like, oh, it's just clouds. But, Evie's, just a baby, and
being all cute.
Just being cute. And then the clouds part, and see the Galar region on the horizon, and then we fade into the theme song.
Which has the theme song grown on you?
Nope. It's only been 2 episodes, even if this is the second. I mean, it's probably not, because, we're coming off of the Orange Islands, which was a banger.
Yeah, it was.
And that got your attention, straight away. And then I know when we return to that timeline, I know Johto's got a bit of a bop. So,
yeah.
And Unova didn't really do it for me, or Black and White. Well, Unova. So
I'm going to have to go on YouTube, and I'm sure someone's uploaded a video of all the theme songs. I'm going to have to go through every single theme song and see which ones I like and which ones I don't.
Yeah.
So we will see. But all right,
that might be a worthwhile topic for one of our
Poke Breaks.
Poke Breaks for sure.
Yes. So we come out of the intro and we are in the Galar region. We see a sleeping Snorlax, and we see a whole bunch of Pokemon out in the wild. And Ash, Go, and Chloe are sitting there running up a hill, and Go throws out Cinderace. He's like, Cinderace, come on out. Cinderace is like, yeah, I'm ready. And all these Pokemon that are like just playing around all in the tree. I'm not going to name every single one of them because it's way too many. But the main ones are some Woolo. Woolo flock come over to Chloe and Eevee. Eevee is scared shitless. Well, and she's like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And and then we see Ash and Go, oh, I didn't even realize that. Hey, I'm gonna rewind this and get the exact time frame. But we have a legendary Pokemon that goes in. Oh wait, no, it's not. No, it's not. I thought it was Ho-Oh. And it is not. So never mind.
All right.
Yeah. I thought they randomly put a flying Ho-Oh in the back.
Oh yeah, I see it. And if you're not paying it, if you're mostly paying attention to Pikachu, I can see where you would make that mistake.
So, yep, my bad, everybody, my bad.
Well, like I said, we run an honest podcast around here, if nothing else.
Yes, we do.
We might be two smucks with microphones, but damn it, if we make a mistake, we own up to it eventually.
But Eevee and Pikachu start running around, and they're playing with each other, and they're having a good old time. And Eevee just starts running down, and then all of a sudden it runs into a Pokemon. And what Pokemon does it run into? But a Boldore. And Eevee's like, oh my God. And Chloe turns around. She's like, what's the matter, Eevee? And she takes out her phone and she gets a picture of Eevee freaking out right in front of Boldore. And Rotom is like, Boldore, the Ore Pokemon, a rock type. And then it's like, Boldore uses sound waves to search the area around it. And when angry, it gives chase without changing its form. And Eevee is like, oh no, this is bad. And Boldore stomps on the ground and uses Stone Edge, and all these stones come flying out of the ground. And that's when Go tells Cinderace to go and kick all of the Stone Edges out of the way. And then Boldore starts to use Harden. And that's where Go's like, oh man, it's using Harden. Cinderace, use Quick Attack. And Cinderace goes right in and just boom, just body checks the mess out of Boldore. Go throws his Pokeball, and in goes Boldore. And does he catch it? It's like bloop, bloop, bloop. Bing! And it's like, Boldor has been registered to your Pokédex, Go. And I'm going to hand this over to you, bro.
So, and, everyone's, and, I'm going to try my best to find positives in redoing this episode because this is something I didn't really touch on in the first recording. Cinderace used Blaze Kick to get through the Stone Edge, right?
Yes.
And that's fine. And then Boldor used Harden, and Cinderace hit it with one quick attack, and that was enough to incapacitate it enough to where it got caught.
Yes.
So this means one of two things. Either Cinderace is already OP, kind of like Pikachu is at this point, or that's just a weak-ass Boldor.
I'm going to go with it's an OG already. Or, well, that Boldor hasn't been properly trained. So, I mean, there is a good chance that Boldor is a weak-ass Boldor.
It's like running into a level 6 Rattata.
You might turn into a great Pokemon, but you are a weak-ass Pokemon when you first start out.
So, yes. So, in celebration, Cinderace does a backflip, and we see Go and Cinderace come hand to foot, and basically doing what Ash A wishes he could do, and B should be doing, and just catching all the Pokemon. And speaking of Ash, he's in a tree inconspicuously for no reason. We didn't see him get up in the tree. We don't know why he's in there. He's just in the tree. And
he's taking on nature. He wasn't scared of that boulder. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, after you hit a Furo with a rock, really, what can bother you? And, Chloe's like, oh, thank you so much for saving us, Go. And you too, Cinderace. And Cinderace is like, just doing my job. Just, it's all good. And they go bounding off, and Ash comes out of the tree. And then we do a quick wipe, and we're just thrown right in the middle of the dig site. And,
yes.
We got Grumble, hand this over here, whatever. And, oh, this might be a good spot. And, we see a couple of grunts, just they're kind of on the walls, dink, dink, dink. And we got a couple looking at some prints outside of a tent. And, it's busy already. And Ash and the gang are on top of a hill looking down, and they're like, so this is where all the magic happens. And Go takes some equipment out of his pockets, and he's like, good shit. And Go and Cinderace are in the lead, and Pikachu and Ash are not far behind. And then bringing up the rear are Chloe and Eevee. And then we see, and I ran into
big old rock.
I ran into this problem on the first recording because the Pokemon and the move is identified in the captions, but not so much on screen. So, we hear somebody commanding a Mudsdale to use double kick. And then all of a sudden we just see a big old rock just explode into pieces, and it sends a
big old boulder flying at Chloe and Eevee.
And Ash is like, Pikachu, use Iron Tail. And
he was quick.
Well, Pikachu's like level 200 at this point. Pikachu could basically win a battle by thinking.
Yes.
If it had a competent trainer.
1 + 1 = 3.
Mm-hmm. So Pikachu knocks the piece of rubble away, and So this is like the second time in like 3 minutes Chloe and Evie have had to have themselves saved. And then we see the source of the issue with somebody in a lab coat and the aforementioned Mudsdale. And he's like, oh, I didn't even know anybody was there. And
Go just had no chill.
Go comes running up like he's just ready to be on World Star. He's like, what do you mean, my bad?
He's like, you almost killed her. And he's like, yeah, but I didn't. So I'm looking for some rare fossils. And Go's like, you need to be more careful. Next time I will. And just starts walking away.
No chill.
No chill. Just not a care in the world. And he's like, are you interested in seeing some rare fossils? And of course, Ash is like, he's like, yeah, of course. Because he just forgot that Chloe just almost died. And he's like, all right, come on over here. I'll show you some rare fossils as my appreciation for not killing you, Chloe. So they walk over and they show these fossils, which we will find out what they are a little bit later on.
Oh boy!
And they're like, and they're like, oh, these are arms, or are they legs? And then Chloe's like, is this a tail over here? And the professor guy is like, he's like, oh, that's amazing, isn't it? And Chloe's like, I don't think it's the full skeleton though. And he's like, you're correct, but you know what? Dig around. So he's like, if you
knock your socks off, you know.
If you keep at it, you should be able to find the whole structure right around here somewhere. And this is where his assistant seems to walk into the frame, and he's like, you are always late. And she's like, it always seems to happen when I forget to set my alarm clock. It's
a horrible feeling, by the way.
I know. I had that this morning. So, weird story real quick. Right before my alarm went off 15 minutes later than what I thought it was going to. And, I wasn't late or anything, but I set it for 15 minutes later and forgot that I set it for 15 minutes later and still woke up before my alarm. And I'm freaking out because I was like, why isn't my alarm going off? Oh, horrible feeling. I hate that feeling.
It's awful.
But this professor dude, he's like constantly careless. And they're like, now who's that? That's researcher Careless. Get it? Careless? Careless? Everybody careless. Her name is Careless.
No, I think they got it.
Careless, everybody. Get it? Get it? Oh, it's not like it's going to get drilled into your head like 10 times during this episode.
Right.
So they really make sure that if you didn't get the joke the first 5 times, that you'll get it on that 6th or 7th time. So Ash and the gang, they're like, oh, hi. And she's like, nice to meet you. And the person's like, he's like, all right, Kara, we should get started. These children are going to help us. And she's like, there's a newsflash, but I forgot to bring my pickaxe. Oh, no. And then joke number 2, he's like, so careless. Here, take my pickaxe.
Just toss a full-ass pickaxe at her.
Yeah, right at her foot. He's lucky he didn't chop it off. And Go and Ash are like, you know what? Why don't we go and help you guys out? I mean, I know you asked me a minute or so ago, but let's go ahead. I think it'll be faster if we all work at this. And the professor's like, oh, free labor. Okay, yeah, go ahead. I don't mind. And Careless is like, yeah, I don't mind either. And all the kids are like, yeah, we would love to. So they just start pounding and pounding and pounding. They're finding different pieces of fossils all over the place. And I'm going to hand this part over to you, my brother.
So, yeah, Ash is hauling a big chunk over the table. Chloe's dusting off a piece of stone. Evie tries to help and is just kind of getting the dust, everywhere, and then gets excited and gets into hyper mode. Then it gets really bad, and they go, and but then when the dust settles, they found like what looks to be the impression of a whole ass foot, and
which is kind of eerie in a way. I'm just going to throw that out there.
They're like, "Oh, look at that, Evie! You messed around and found a foot." And Evie's, proud of itself because it should be, quite frankly. And
it's like, "Yep, I did that. I did that,
and I meant to do it too. It wasn't even by accident or anything." And then we do another wipe, and we see a couple of boxes are full of miscellaneous pieces, and
what are we going to do with all these pieces, Doug?
Well, I don't know. Make a puzzle, I guess. And so then we do like an overhead shot, and we see that there's four containers, and the containers are in the center, and on the periphery of the boundary we have a blue, a purple, an orange, and a red lid. And Ash, of course, is the first one to be like, "All right, so what do we do now? What's the next step? How do we get these things together?" And goes like, "Well, haven't you played any video games? This is the puzzle section, and we've got to make sure everything matches up correctly." And
I don't think Ash has ever played a video game. I'm going to throw that out there because I think he's been all about Pokemon that he just hasn't played.
No, I think if anybody would be a gamer of the three of them, I would say Go.
Yeah.
Because Go was the one that was on his cell phone on the airplane. But and that's when Carolus pipes up, and she's like, this is what's so odd about Galar fossils. And Ash is like, "I don't understand what you mean. I hope you have follow-up, because otherwise I am completely lost." And Carolus is like, "Well, you see, I find that the path to the correct answer can be achieved by throwing out conventional wisdom and looking at things in new and different ways." And she pulls out her tablet, and she's got some of the pieces of bone separated into the four colors: orange, red, blue, purple, and a light blue. And she takes the orange section and she puts it to the blue section, and it comes up with like a fish type Pokemon, and she kind of adjusts its head to kind of attribute to what would happen, in terms of like evolution. And she's like, this Pokemon would grow to become an Arctivus. And everyone's like, "Oh my goodness." And then of course that leaves the purple and the red. So you combine those, and Bray is over there, and he's like, "This Pokemon developed flight out of necessity, and it also developed strong legs." And he's like, this would be called a Dragazult. And Ash has like stars in his eyes, and he's like, "This is amazing. I can see exactly where he's going." And
this is so cool.
And Chloe's like, "I see why she called him odd." And and they're putting lids on the containers, and she's like, "Yes, and now we must start the process of making sure these can be fully restored. And
they go and they put these into a machine. And after they put it into the machine, okay, this is going to take a while. So who's hungry? And everyone's like, yeah, I'm hungry. Everyone's hungry. So it's at this point that they all start preparing food, and they're all doing their thing. And it's funny because Ash has like this big old leaf, and he's fanning this thing, and he's like, oh man, I got to keep the flame going on here, because I mean, why wouldn't Cinderace just be using as fire? But no.
Yeah, I remember having a fit on the first record. I was like, you literally have Cinderace right there. He could literally just kick the kindling with a blaze kick, and we're fine.
Yes, but no.
But no. We got to kill half an hour here, for goodness sakes.
That's too easy, Doug.
Oh, apparently, silly me.
So. And then we have Chloe over here, and she's whipping up some cream. And as she's whipping it up, the cream goes and splatters right on top of Eevee's nose. And Eevee was like, oh, I didn't ask for that. And then Chloe, being Chloe, goes and rubs the cream off of Eevee's nose. It didn't even give Eevee a chance to just lick it off itself. And Eevee is kind of like, I want the cream. Put the cream back.
or at least give me what landed on my nose.
Yeah, you splattered me. And Chloe then walks away, and that's a key part, everyone. She walks away from the cream and says that she needs to go and get sugar. And that's when the professor dude comes back, and he's like, the most important thing about curry is its intriguing secret ingredient. It's like, huh? Oh, there it is. Eureka! And Chloe walks back, and the cream is gone. Eevee is like, if I could talk, I would definitely tell you what just happened to that cream, but I can't talk.
No, but bullshit. How... shenanigans. I didn't bring this again. I didn't bring this up on the first record. Okay, quit talking about the first record. Shut up. It's our podcast. Eevee could easily go over, if not go over to Bray and say he has it. At the bare minimum, she could turn around and say over there. But Eevee just sits there. I'm a baby. Bullshit. Shenanigans.
Yes, shenanigans. And Chloe's like, go, have you seen my cream? He's like, no. And then all of a sudden we got, hey, everybody is finished. And they walk over to the curry, and the curry has the whipped cream sitting on top, and everyone's looking at it, and they're like, you put whipped cream on top of curry? What is wrong with you? And they're like,
we don't have that kind of time.
I know. And the professor is like, he's like, it's a secret ingredient. He's like, don't knock it until you try it. And everyone's like, I don't want to try it. And they're like, well, just come on, give it a try. So everyone takes a big old bite of the curry, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is so good. And then they all go in, and then it seems like they went in for seconds and thirds, because Ash Belly were just popping out of their pants. And I'm going to send this part over to you, my brother.
You ever felt like you had to sneeze? And then it just didn't happen. So I'll either sneeze in 5 minutes or I'll sneeze in a half an hour.
Every day.
So, well, it's bullshit. So they're all kind of, lounging. They're basically, a couple steps away from being in food comas. And that's when Chloe's like, oh, well, you shouldn't have gone back for fourth, or you should have stopped at fourth. So by the simple math, at the very least, Ash had 4 helpings of that shit.
Yes.
So, but that's Ash. And, Eevee's sitting over there being cute, licking its jowls and stuff. And then we hear off in the distance some commotion. And if this was Kanto or even Unova for Black and White, you might say, well, there's, like 6 minutes left in the episode. This has to be where Team Rocket... Nope. I mean, I'll go ahead and spoil that right now. No Team Rocket.
No Team Rocket this week, everybody.
And I mean, if we're being fair, because we've watched ahead, no Team Rocket next week either, for what it's worth.
Yes.
But no, Bray's sitting there. He goes, the fossils must be ready. So Go and Ash immediately get their energy back, and they're like, let's go. And he's like, yes. And he's like, now remember, Carolus, hit the extraction button. Carolus is like, yeah. And she hits the button, and we get the aura and everything, and then this is when we get the Who's That Pokemon, and the Who's That Pokemon turns out to be Boldore, because you don't want to give away what's coming out of the commercial break, so it makes sense that Boldore would be the only logical choice.
Yes.
So 2 episodes in, Master Journey's heading straight off of the beaten path where they're just throwing random Pokemon out just because they can. And everybody's back and they're watching. And when the energy finally clears, the first Pokemon to come into view is Dragovish.
Yes.
And I'm not, I'm just a simple small-town bird lawyer, but that does not look like the picture. And then out of the other energy comes Arctovish. This is where we ran into problems the first. Arcazult. This is where we ran into problems the first time when we sat there for the last 10 minutes going, no, it was this one, and so we're not doing that. And again, looks nothing like the picture, and in fact has a boogie.
A big old boogie. And Ash is like, I can't believe this shit. They came back to life right in front of our eyes. This is fantastic. He's got stars in his eyes. Pikachu's a gasp. And Chloe's like, Chloe and Eevee are just kind of sitting there like, well, that certainly looks different. And we see the flash of Carolus's tablet of what it was supposed to be. And then we see Bray's tablet. And this is when Bray has to enter Spin Zone. Yes. And it's funny because Dracovish starts to chase Ash around because Dracovish doesn't know any better and wants to eat Ash.
Right.
So funny.
So, I mean, Ash kind of has his own personal victory bell.
Yes.
Which is a bit of a throwback, to the Kanto. And
because Ash just walks up to it and is just like, hi, Dracovish, can we be friends? And Dracovish is like, I want to eat you.
He's out.
And just opens its mouth. I was dying. But okay, sorry.
That kind of takes care of Ash for like there's 6:32 left where I paused it. Like that kind of takes care of Ash until like the last 3 minutes.
Yeah, it does, because it just starts chasing Ash and it just doesn't stop. But I mean, we at least know Ash has a lot of endurance.
And then, in an effort to get the Dragovich, which is funny because he's had 5 helpings of curry. But again, I think once he actually had something to do, he got his energy back. AKA, once he was interested in something. So, in an effort to create some distance between themselves and the Dragovich, Pikachu uses the most made-up move. Made-up. That's good, Doug. Make up words like that. The most made-up move in Pokemon history, the Electroweb.
It is not the most made-up move.
I will die on this hill. That is a made-up move.
Aren't all Pokemon moves made-up moves?
Touche. Aren't all Pokemon made up? These
no, not all of them.
These 2 are Frankenstein monsters.
Do you think we're ever going to get to a spot where someone actually makes a living Pokeball?
A living Pokeball.
You know what I mean? A real-life Pokeball.
Well, I'm sure people have.
Oh, you think someone's made a real-life Pokeball?
Oh, I'd almost put, not great money, but I'd put a decent amount on it that somebody in a lab somewhere has had too much free time and mocked themselves up a working Pokeball.
Oh, okay.
I mean, to the extent that, because the prototype of a Pokeball is easy enough.
Yes.
You just have to have a hinge, and then you'd have to have like some lights, when it's opened, and then, you could rig some sound chips.
But how do you materialize something to go into it?
Well, that's science fiction.
You don't think anyone can do that with the technology that we have these days?
No, you're probably not going to see that until we master or at least get a decent handle on cloning.
I mean, there is cloning.
Well. Well.
Facts.
So, anyway, Dragovich, shrugs off Electroweb because it's not real. And Pikachu's panicked and Ash is still running. And then Dragovich shoots out either water gun or hydro pump. It's not really specified. And it catches old Arcazalt right in the face. And he's pissed because he was sitting there minding his own business trying to get his boogie out. And so out of anger, he shoots out Ice Beam, which stops Pikachu and Ash in their tracks because Ash wasn't fixing on skating. And Dragovich has no brakes, so he just plows into him. And Arcazalt is just shooting out Ice Beam. Just, I'm pissed off and I don't care who knows it. And, Ash
just shooting Pikachu, all over the place.
Ash and Pikachu end up on Dragovich, and
Go sends out Boldor to go and help,
which is a nice callback,
Yeah,
we caught him at the beginning of the episode. Make yourself useful, and in the fracas, Carolus and Bray got caught in the ice fire and got themselves frozen. So Cinderace uses a really clutch move. I don't know if it's Flame Kick or whatever.
Blaze Kick,
and he just kicks up a stone and sparks it, and then kicks it over to the frozen statues of Bray and Carolus, and thaws him. So why the hell didn't he do that to the fire? But let's not dig that up again. There's only like 2 minutes left in the episode. And Arcozalt trains its focus on Chloe and Evie, and Evie's like, there's about to be some shit, because Arcozalt throws out another ice beam, and Evie is able to push Chloe out of the way while simultaneously dodging it on his own end. And, Chloe's like, oh, thanks so much, Evie. And Go runs over. It's like, you good? And,
it's like, no.
Well, no. And Go's like, how are we going to calm this Arcozalt down? And this is when he produces a Pokeball, which I guess if we've been paying attention, and we know that Cinderace is already out. And then we cut over to Ash and Dragovich, and Dragovich is just doing his best Forrest Gump and just running. And this is when Go calls out Boldore, and Go's like, help a brother out. And Arcozalt's like, oh, another challenge. And cut back to Dragovich and, Ash and Pikachu, and he's just running through trees and shit. And
running through trees and swimming.
And then they finally get over some water and obviously crash, and Ash is like, oh god, now we're freaking doing a deep dive. And then we cut over to Arcozalt and Boldore going face to face, and they're like, here's treasure. And then we, for no reason at all, we cut over to Careless and Bray thawing themselves out on a fire. And Chloe's like, are you two okay? And she's like, well, we're alive. So not really votes of confidence, but here we are. And
take that for what it is.
And they're kind of like, why isn't Arcozalt moving? Well, then Arcozalt starts to spark, and Careless is like, it's using charge. And Go's like, what the hell you mean it's using charge? And it's it's just building up energy, and Bray's like, here it comes, and Arcozalt just lets go, and we cut back over to Ash and Pikachu, and we see Dragovich finally come up for some air, and Ash is like, oh, so you are able to swim.
And I mean, they've become friends at this moment.
Well, I would hope so. They've been through the shit.
I know, right?
And Ash is like, well, this was fun, and Dragovich is proud of itself, and then all of a sudden he just jumps out of the water and goes running back towards the action.
So funny.
And then we cut back to the battle, and we see Boldore is using Harden again to protect against the charge. And at the last second, goes like, use Stone Edge, and catches Arcozalt right on the jaw. And he's like, ow. And goes like, Stone Age barely moved him. And he's like, that takes some guts. And then we cut and we see the Dragovich is on the warpath again. And he just full on just says, bam! Right, Arcozalt and Dragovich collide, and Boldore gets knocked over, and Chloe's like, you okay? And goes like, that was some shit. And Ash kind of goes over to Dragovich and kind of pats him on the head, and Dragovich is like, "I'm gonna eat your head." He goes, "Ow," and Arcazalt's kind of looking at Go like, "Hey, that was something, wasn't it?" And the Carolus and Bray kind of look over and they're like, "Looks like they like you." And
would you guys wanna train them for us? And I don't understand. So they went through all this trouble to get these Pokemon, and then just said, "Okay, why don't you train them for us?"
Especially because they're essentially science experiments.
Yes,
like they didn't come out as the pictures showed. So wouldn't you want to keep them to study them?
You would think so, but apparently not. They're like, "Oh, these Pokemon came out fucked up. We gotta get this machine right, and then we can try this again."
Then we'll come back. We couldn't have found them all.
For real.
So basically, it shakes out that Go catches Arcazalt and Ash catches Dragovich. And wouldn't it be funny if at the last minute they just reversed and they said, "I spent all day running around with Dragovich. I want the bird fella." And then,
yeah. And
this is what I don't get, because they got messed up, right? Like they didn't come out as intended.
Yes.
So how the hell could they be registered to Rotom?
Because Rotom knows what the Pokemon are. Because it still has the DNA of the Pokemon. They just look different. Just like how Galar Pokemon, like the Galar Ponyta and the Kanto Ponyta, are completely different, but they share the same DNA.
Okay.
So kind of think about it like that, so you don't fuck your head up.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is why you ask questions.
Yes.
So they get registered to the respective Rotoms. We don't hear descriptions for them, which would have been nice, but there is only 2 minutes left in the episode, which means there's 1 minute left in the episode. So then they have to do, "We caught Pokemon," and Cinderace and Pikachu are like, "Yeah, we got new people," and Go really came out gangbusters in this episode. He got 2 Pokemon.
He got 2 Pokemon in this one episode. So go.
And
I did not intend to do that, but it was good that I did it.
I think you did. And the sooner we can admit that you did, we can move on. And then Chloe's just left to stand there and go, "That's amazing." And then
that's the end of the episode.
We basically fade down, and then we do see Ash and Go kind of on a like a Zoom call with the head of the museum, kind of showing off their new Pokemon. Because obviously Arcazalt and Dragovich should be studied, but here we are.
Yes.
And then Chloe goes off and is writing her report, and we can see that Eevee is tuckered out because its ears are all the way down, and he's doing the head nod and he's losing hard. And Chloe's kind of dictating her report, and then she looks up and she sees that Eevee has tapped and is curled up on its tail and is out, and she says "sweet dreams," and then we get the narrator, and then we are out.
Yes. And that is the episode. So what did you think about this? I know it's our second time running through it, but what did you think about this episode, Doug?
I don't remember what I rated it the first time. Not that it's relevant.
I think you gave it a 3.5.
And I probably would stick with it. you know, I mean,
I'm gonna follow right behind you.
Or three Pokemon got caught in the episode. There was battle. There was some humor. It wasn't spectacular, but we had some tangible results.
Yes. So, good episode. Good episode. I'm going to stick with you, and I'm going to go 3.5 as well. And I think we're kind of good at this point. Do you have anything else that you would like to add for this week, bro?
No, just that if this episode messes up again, you won't know about it because this will be the end of the show.
Yep. We will not be redoing this episode again, but I'm sure everything's good this time.
Well,
I'm almost positive.
You have your headphones, and I made sure our levels were good, so yeah.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. So then, if that's all, bro, go ahead and say your goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
And this is Professor Chris G telling all of you, tune in next week, and I promise there'll be an episode next week. Because we'll have another one for you. But have a good night, everybody.